Hey, it's Brian Thomas with John Ruhlman for another edition of Rethink Healthcare Together. John Ruhlman, of course, with Covers Cincy. You can find him online at coverscincy with a Y or I.com. Well worth the effort to do that. Or call him at 513-800-2255. Made easier, 513-800-CALL. John Ruhlman, it's always great to talk with you this on the weekends, and I enjoy everything that I've learned about you, and I've learned so much. And you have had so many people with big grins on their face because you've helped them get medical insurance where they either didn't have it before or where they were paying outrageous amounts for their insurance and lots of out-of-pocket. Last week, Eric Hamburg from Rick Saylor Financial, he got whacked with a $24,000 out-of-pocket responsibility the year his twins were born.
Twice.
2
sets of twins.
Twice. That was the old way. And then
the old way.
He met you, and you found a better path for him. That guy was beaming with delight over the money you saved him and the better coverage you provided him. But the idea is, and I think this is the important part as we move forward to another edition of Rethink Healthcare Together, being proactive and forward-thinking. Thinking about the events that are coming up in your life, and oftentimes that includes medical events that you don't think you can plan for, but you actually can. But as we start, it's spring breaky time and we're moving towards summertime, I know you had a lot of concepts you wanted to put in people's minds to bring around the importance of making this phone call, reaching out to you for better insurance coverage for less money, and also a few different ways to skin a cat, as we always learn on this show every week. So welcome back, my friend. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much, Brian.
So, planning for upcoming events, huh?
Yeah, I mean, this is that time of year when, right, we're at spring sports, so kids are getting geared up. You're out there as a parent watching them go through all their practices, and you're like, ooh, I just watched him slide into second base. He got up hobbling. What I want to preface this is that we know the market right now with healthcare. The out-of-pocket expenses, the deductibles are absolutely insane. And if you haven't seen the actual inflation on healthcare expenses, just wait, because it's going to happen. Like I said, when I started this, now this is my 19th year doing health insurance. I mean, the average cost for a broken leg in the emergency room was about $1,000, right? So, maybe you have that sitting around. It's approaching $5,000 or $6,000 right now.
Just to set a broken leg?
Just to set a broken leg.
I don't discount the importance of the medical profession, but I mean, I broke my leg once. It wasn't that big of a deal to get treated. They wrapped it in that fiberglassy thing. It hardened up. 6 weeks later, they cut it off. I was fine.
But
$5,000?
Yeah, and most of them don't even set it in the emergency room. It's like, we're going to put you in a splint and you're going to go see an orthopedic next day.
That's true.
Well, here's your shock claim that you get in the mail 8-9 weeks later. Or you owe us $5,000. You're like, why do I owe so much money? Well, sorry, man, your deductible is $6,000. You're paying that entire bill. We were used to selling plans that had copays for emergency rooms, right? You used to have that I have a $200 copay for the emergency room. Most health plans don't even have that anymore because of the sheer cost of using something like an emergency room, and that's where this has kind of come from. I'm a health insurance agent. My wife met me. I was a health insurance agent. She knows that I am the expert in health insurance.
And yet she married you anyway.
I know. And yet she, I know she's going to go in the emergency room if the kids get hurt. She doesn't care. She's not going to consider that. She doesn't know the out-of-pocket expenses. And that's really, why I wanted to preface this today, because, my goal with this show is to show you some of the small things that you can financially protect yourself with. And like I said, it doesn't make a difference. You're getting coverage through an employer. You have your own plan. You just have to look at what those out-of-pocket expenses are. And most of us realize it's thousands and thousands and thousands, 6, 7, 8, 9, could be $10,000, and that's per person. What happens if it's a family? I look at even these group plans that these employers are paying $1,000 a month for. I look at the out-of-pocket expenses, 13, 14, 15 grand for a family. Well, what happens if 2 of your kids have an accident that year and end up having to go to the emergency room? Well, there's your $10,000. So, what we've seen in this industry is about 2/3 of emergency claims end up being accidents. That's 2/3. If I was a betting guy, right? If I'm going to go to the roulette table and I know 2/3 of the time I'm going to win, I'm betting and doubling down every single time. Right. That is absolutely my goal. So, a lot of us buy accident plans. And that's the funny thing is, you get some of these agents that come out to you and they go, oh, it's a Section 125, the Duck and all these other companies that come out and sell these plans like, we'll put cash in your pocket. Well, what people don't realize is that that cash is an indemnity benefit, like we've talked about in the show. But what is $400 for a sprain going to give you? What is $800 for a broken leg going to give you when the bill's $6,000 and your deductible $6,000? Right?
Yeah.
You're still paying all kinds of money out of pocket. So what you have to realize is there's two types of accident plans that are out there, and most of them that are sold are that type of plan that are not going to make you whole, that are not designed to cover your out-of-pocket expenses, and they're designed to, here's a couple $100, good luck with the rest of your bill. So one of the things you have to really look at in your plan is, do I have an accident medical expense plan? And that's really the big thing that most people don't understand when they're buying these type of health insurance policies. They have to have something that when you have an medical expense plan, it's an accident policy that coordinates benefits with a primary insurance, right? So it's not going to put money in your pocket, but what it is designed to do is completely cover all of your financial exposure. All right. So if you have a $5,000 deductible, I'm going to put you into a $5,000 accident policy. So no matter what your bill is, if it's $500 or $50,000, you pay nothing ever for an accident. I have 3 kids. I mean, I've had an accident policy before I got married and had kids. I knew as a young guy what's going to probably get me into the hospital. Yeah. It's going to be an accident, right? I'm going to do something dumb on the basketball court. Yeah. I used to ride my bike up and down hills and, whatever, right? Something like that's going to end up happening to me. So I bought an accident policy. I've used this thing for 19 years. I probably used it 8 times. It's way more than paid for itself. But, even when I had the kids, I remember my son, he had a little lemonade stand. He was like 4 years old, right in front of our house. My in-laws bought it. It was a great idea, like a little cardboard thing. He didn't last 45 minutes sitting in the little, one of those little fold-out chairs.
Right.
He leans back, falls over, puts his arm down in grass. So my wife calls me. I come home, and, he's like, I think he broke his arm. I want to take him to the emergency room. I'm like, no, there's no way. He fell like 6 inches. There's no way he broke his arm. And I'm sitting there holding my son's arm, contemplating getting medical treatment. I'm like, well, this is going to cost us money. And I have an accident policy. Why am I even thinking about this? Let's just go. It's not going to cost us anything other than our time.
Right.
I'm not going to have to pay thousands of dollars. Well, I feel like a total fool because when we go in there, they do the x-ray and guess what?
His arm's broken.
His arm's broken.
Oh, my Lord.
So I'm sitting there, again, making a decision on my family, a financial decision, right? I'm making a financial decision, and I shouldn't have. And I didn't even need to. So I can't imagine the people that really have to make that financial decision because they know it's going to cost them thousands of dollars. And that's where these accident plans really come into play. You should completely take that off the table.
And let's talk about affordability.
I mean, you're talking about family plans that run $40 to $60 a month. I'm talking about the entire family.
For the whole okay, yeah. Well, I mean, considering a meal at McDonald's for a family of 4 is going to set you back like $90 these days, it seems to me like a wise expenditure of money.
Think about the risk. I mean, would you pay $40 a month, $500 a year to alleviate $5,000? I mean, it would take you 10 years. 10 years of no accidents. I mean, good luck with a family having no accidents in 10 years. I mean, I think we have one every 2 or 3 years, and it just little things, stitches here. My daughter fell down 4 stairs and, bumped her head at 2 years old. Of course, where are we going to go? It's the emergency room, right? It's not even a question. My wife's like, get in the car. We're going to the emergency room. They did a quick little check, not even an x-ray, nothing. She had a lump on her head and we were concerned. And, bill was $1,800.
And you're not going to get any pushback. Well, that wasn't an emergency.
Doesn't make a difference.
See, I wanted you to emphasize that point.
No, that doesn't make a difference because remember, your major medical plans are going to do that.
Yes.
They want to make sure if you go to the emergency room, it is life-threatening, right? So here's the funny thing. Even if your major medical plan turns around and goes, nope, we're not gonna pay for this. Well, again, doesn't really make a difference. Deductibles are usually so high anyway. The accident plan doesn't care because the event was the accident. And a lot of people go, John, well, what's an accident? I was like, anything that happens externally to your body, right? So yes, pregnancy, not an accident. I don't care how you try to spin that. The other thing too is a lot of people go, well, I developed a hernia. I woke up one morning, I had this protrusion coming out. I was like, not an accident. Well, did you slip? Were you lifting something and caused that? It has to be an event that caused an accident, which again is, remember, a majority of claims are accidents.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Like for $50-$60 a month. I mean, we actually, one of my top agents in the area that I ended up recruiting about 4 years ago, she came to us because her daughter was in my daughter's competition cheer group, and she was the flyer. So this was the girl they were flipping up in the air, and I'm like, well, one day, what happens if they don't catch her? She's like, oh my God. She goes, I have an $8,000 deductible. I was like, I got a plan for that. So I ended up selling her an accident policy because she was concerned. She had a high deductible HSA plan on a group plan. They didn't pay much for their health insurance. She's like, but man, if I can pay $50-$60 a month and never have to pay this bill, I'm going to do it. So circle around a few years later, she's like, I love what you did. How do I do this? And now she's one of our top agents and has been working for me for 4 years just over that.
Well, someone listening right now that's got the policy through their employer, they know they got an out-of-pocket liability, responsibility, whatever it happens to be. Can they get one of these accident medical expense policies independently and
Yes.
and work with, like, I'll keep what I got. I'm signed up for the year or whatever through my employer, but that sounds like a really great idea, and I'm willing to pay a little bit more extra month to get that peace of mind, knowing I'm not going to have this huge liability.
And better yet, once we help you set that up, now you can work with us. And I will help you with navigate that situation when you have that claim and you have your major medical plan, and now you have to coordinate that with your accident
so we
policy.
get all the services.
You get my services
of
for
the Cover
like
team.
$40-$50 a month.
Oh my God! Well, folks, that in of itself is worth it. Hell, I think I'd pay $40 a month just to have the services of John and his team deal with disputed medical claims or navigating the challenges of finding a physician at the right price and someone who's qualified, which we talk about all the time on this show. So,
but I want to hit one last thing, Brian, because it's really important on this. Even if that major medical plan balks at that emergency room claim, that accident policy still pays.
All right.
Yes. And we even have plans that have worldwide coverage. So, like, you're down in Mexico and you're out there swimming and you slice your foot open on coral. Now, granted, they're not going to bill down there in Mexico because they only accept Visa.
Right. Yeah. And you will be taken for a ride.
Yeah, but I guarantee you the bill on a broken leg in Mexico is nowhere near what the bill is going to be here. But what I will tell you is, we can help you work through that situation. They will absolutely reimburse you. So it's, when we set you up, we try to set you up the right way. And at any doctor, any hospital, worldwide, that's how those plans work.
That is phenomenal.
No pre-existing conditions, no qualifications. It's literally blanket coverage right away.
Well, moving over, I think this is one area where people will say, nah, I'm not going to pay extra for that a month when they're getting insurance through their employers. You get all these options. They might offer you a life insurance option or a disability option, vision option, everything's separate line item. And then comes the dental option, which personally, in my experience, in terms of coverage, has never been a really positive one with my employer coverage and historically with my employer coverage. But you can handle this forward-thinking thing we're talking about here, thinking about dental visits. You've got a solution for that as well.
Yeah, so dental insurance, dental in general, right? I don't know if you've looked at issues that come from poor dental hygiene and poor dental care. I mean, it's like literally they say it's a gateway to your entire body.
Yeah, like heart problems.
Heart problems, all kinds
Big
of things.
time.
I mean, if you have an abscess, it can literally go to your heart and kill you.
Yes.
I mean, I'll preface this right now. You should be getting your dental cleanings. I'm not a dentist at all. I actually represent a lot of dentist clients. But, I mean, that is a huge thing. And what I feel a lot of times, and you're absolutely right, especially on the group side, the problem is that you typically run into with dental insurance is, here's your dental plan. This is what we're offering.
Yeah.
XYZ insurance company. And you're like, great, I have the same dentist for like the last 30 years, so I'm just going to go to him. And what most people don't realize is that most dentists, most of them, will bill any insurance company, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll bill your insurance. Well, there's a big thing on the dental side. It's balance billing, right? Because if your dentist is not in network for your dental plan, right? Because remember, there's a negotiated rate, and it could be huge depending on the insurance company you're dealing with. So the insurance company is only going to pay out what they would normally pay out for an in-network dentist.
Right.
Well, I guarantee you the guy that's just billing the dentist that's not in that network, is going to bill sometimes 2 or 3 times more. So again, you're just getting balance billed. So you're paying for a dental plan, and this is why I've always had a big issue with selling dental insurance, because It's one thing people tend to use. I always want to make sure they have the right plan. And if I put them in the wrong plan and they get balance billed, they tend to think everything else I'm selling them is wrong. So again, that's why we really kind of get into it. Let's make sure your dentists are covered. Or maybe you're just saying, listen, I don't really have a dentist. What's the best plan that are out there for me? Because you have to be careful. I mean, a lot of these plans, number one, a lot of dental plans only cover maybe preventative and basic services. So when I say preventative, that's your 2 teeth cleanings a year, it's your x-ray. Your basic services like a filling, maybe a minor extraction, right? But when we really think dental insurance is like, well, maybe I crack a tooth, I need a root canal, I need a bridge, I need a cap, I need a crown, I need an implant, I need braces, right? Those are the big expenses. So you'll find that some dental plans don't even cover that. And you're paying for this just for kind of a dollar for dollar preventative care reimbursement type of situation. So you need to make sure the coverage is there. And some of these plans only give you $500 in coverage for that.
Yeah.
$1,000. I mean, we have plans right now that have up to $5,000. I have a plan that even has unlimited dental benefits.
Really?
Depending upon how bad your situation is. And then the other thing you need to look at too is waiting periods, especially if you start a new dental plan. Not every dental plan is going to turn around and give you coverage immediately for everything, right? So on the group, sometimes if you have current dental insurance, they usually kind of like roll it over and say you've already exhausted your wait. But let's say you're starting dental insurance for the very first time. Well, I crack my tooth 3 weeks later. Oh my God, I need a root canal, right? Well, I had to wait 12 months before the major services kicked in.
Why?
Because that's how they do it. Because insurance companies can't get, if you're going to sell you a $30 a month dental insurance plan, they can't turn around and pay $1,500 for a root canal tomorrow.
Is this going to be considered like a pre-existing condition?
Well, more waiting periods. So instead of pre-existing conditions, these dental plans usually do waiting periods. Yeah.
So, okay, I get insured under that scenario. I find out within a month of getting covered, I need a root canal. If I'm going to get covered, I'd have to wait a year for the plan to kick in and deal with a root canal issue until that period of time. It isn't like it's denied because a root canal need just doesn't crop up overnight. Correct. Like the pre-existing condition argument that they make. No, you had that when you became insured with us. That's not going to be covered. It's just a waiting game.
It's just a waiting game. And
so it's almost like a pre-existing condition under a different name.
Exactly how they do it, yeah. Because they're not going to do underwriting.
And most people can't wait because of the pain that they're dealing with a full year before the time expires.
But that's a big thing to really look at too, because when I get clients that will call me and go, John, I never had dental insurance. I need a root canal. I need this put in. And what I'll do is turn around and go, listen, do you have a dentist in mind, or are you open to finding something that I can get you immediate coverage right away? And that might have a network that you have to use. You're like, I'll go to whoever you tell me. I just need to get this done. Well, one of the biggest things that you'll find is there's some dental plans right now that'll get you a 50% discount day one. So imagine going in and saying, well, I never had dental insurance. I need a root canal. It's $1,500. Well, what if I told you I can sign up with a plan starting April 1st, next month, whatever it is, that will give you a 50% discount immediately on that and have some benefit that'll pay out right away. So I'm not saying it's going to be free, but I mean, that $1,500 root canal might drop down to like $600 or $550. And that's something I can put you on right away. So again, this is kind of one of those things I want to sit down and talk with you about, because, $30 to save $700-800. I mean, let's do it. Let's make sure you have the right plan, and then set you up for the long term, on a good plan. But that's a big thing. Like I said, you have to be careful of the balance billing. You got to be careful what dental plan that you take. There's some really big, well-known dental plans out there that go, we take almost every dentist, right? And that might be great in theory, but what are you giving up? And it's typically the negotiated rate, because none of these dental plans, none of them out there, will ever pay 100% on a major service. When I say that, they're never going to put a crown in your mouth and pay 100% for that crown. You will always have out-of-pocket expenses. So the one thing that I want with one of the dental plans that I personally use for my family, anytime I do anything, the very first thing is, if my dentist is in network with that plan, whatever his bill is cut in half, just under discount. And then my plan pays 60% for major restoratives. So I'm talking about a $1,500 root canal. I'm walking out for $300. That's the plan. And if you have the wrong plan, they might have a 10% discount and pay 50%. So I'm still paying.
Right.
I'm paying almost as much for the discount that I would have gotten with the other company. And
that one root canal, the savings alone, will obviously cover the cost of insurance and a little extra gravy on top of that.
Oh yeah, and that's what you look at. If I can help a family at least break even on the preventative care side for what you're paying, everything else is gravy. because we know you're not going to have a root canal every year. Hopefully you don't have a filling every year if you're doing the preventative care the right way. But again, if that does come up in the future, like, braces for your kids. I mean, I have 3. I know one's going to need them. Huge expense. Let's make sure we have that game plan and plan for you before you do it.
CoverCincy.com. It's 513-800-2255, 513-800-CALL. That's not the number for the show this morning. That's the number to get in touch with John Ruhlman and his team at Cover Cincy. So you're going to want to definitely do that. Pivoting over, urgent care versus ER?
Yeah. So again, this is kind of that game planning, right? Now you're that time of year like, hey, I need to know what's kind of going on in my area. We've talked about this a lot. Again, the shock claims, the emergency room, just like with the accident policies is, what if I go to the emergency room, it's not considered life-threatening? Is my insurance company going to decline that claim, right? One of the things I always tell people is like, listen, the easiest thing for you to do is take out 15, 20 minutes and research some of the local urgent cares in your area. This is really imperative because an urgent care could be 100 times cheaper than an emergency room.
No, really?
Yes. I mean, just absolutely crazy cheaper. So like I know in my area, I have like 3 urgent cares. So one of the things
they're popping up all over the place.
They are. Now, remember, urgent cares, not the ones like the ones attached to the hospitals.
Right.
Because they're like little ERs. Like
sure,
it's
like a mini hospital.
Like a little mini hospital.
Umbrella of the hospital.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why are they popping up everywhere? Because it's a cash cow for the hospitals. Like, just come to us. We're going to charge you $8,000 for that breathing treatment you might need. So, the urgent cares, what I've seen over the last few years is have really started to pick up more of their services. So, like, I know which days they have X-ray technicians in the urgent cares around. And like one's on a Thursday, another place has 2 there different days a week. So I'm like, hey, if my kid got hurt, even though I have an accident policy, I don't want to go to the emergency room. I can go to urgent care because there's an X-ray technician right there. And I mean, and we're talking a couple $100 rather than $4,000 or $5,000,
and probably a lot of time savings too. There's one thing I cannot stand is hospital emergency rooms because you're going to be there for hours.
For hours.
I mean, you could be gushing blood out of an artery, and they say, we'll be thinking about it. Oh, the doctor's been. We got a lot of patients in here today. It's like, oh my God. But urgent care, usually there's not a whole lot of wait there. It's not like they're jam-packed full of people that go to the hospital emergency room.
No, and a lot of them now you can even call ahead and maybe get in the waiting queue and different things like that. So there's a lot of huge benefits, but it's finding out, hey, like I know one has does small little procedures for eyes. We actually, I think it was my wife, she ended up getting metal in her eye one time, and instead of going to the emergency room to take it out, we actually went to urgent care and they removed it. Like they have a washing station, they go in there and just a little procedure room, they took care of it right there. I don't have to go to the emergency room. So that's a real big thing that you have to really understand and take that time not to figure out what are the local ones in you, what are the ones that are in your network, and what kind of facilities do they have there so that I can bypass the emergency room. So I always tell clients, like, listen, there's 4-step process to healthcare, right? And when I set a client up, my first thing is always telehealth, right? So I want them to have a really good telehealth benefit.
Absolutely.
That is something you can use 24/7, 365, anywhere in the country.
Love telehealth.
I mean, telehealth is absolutely phenomenal. If you don't have a plan, they're very affordable. And if you're working for an employer, like, we need that. I mean, I can literally set up one for the entire company. It doesn't cost much at all. And that should be first line defense. Because again, I don't care if you're going to urgent care or you're even going to a doctor or an emergency room, you're taking a day off in a lot of cases. Let's not do that. Let's not take a sick day or a vacation day because you're feeling ill and you need a sinus pill or something like that. So telehealth should be your first line defense. Second line of defense, the way we set our clients up is actually urgent care over primary care, because the way we do a lot of our plans is because we do secondary coverages, they'll actually make money if they go to urgent care.
Yeah,
almost every single time. I'm not talking like $50 in your pocket. I'm talking like $200, $300, $400, $500 coming back to you because you use urgent care. Love to talk to you about that because that's a huge way of doing it. So yeah, telehealth first, urgent care, then you should see your primary care, right? So I say primary care is third because again, sometimes they're hard to get into. I mean, sometimes they have openings, but we're going through some situations right now, and it was difficult. Even getting in like a day later, 2 days later. I mean, I'm not going to wait anymore. I need to get my treatment. And then the very last, I implore you, the very last thing you should ever do is walk into an emergency room. And if you think it's life-threatening, if you think something's going to absolutely happen to you and you may die, that's when you go to the emergency room. that should be your last line right there.
So that's in continuing with the theme, the point being, know your urgent care facilities before anything happens. So that is your default mindset before you head on into the hospital.
Some of them even have labs, Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, you can do preventative care and an urgent care. And I was like, well, I don't have a pre-established doctor. You can go to urgent care. Go to urgent care and get your preventative care done. That's important. Like,
you get an annual physical at urgent care?
Yes.
Really?
And they'll do your blood work there. And if I set you up the right way, you're making money doing your physical there. That you have to do these things because, I actually, we're kind of talking off air a little bit, but, one of the things that we're dealing with right now, and we see this for whatever reason over the last few years, right between January and like March is when we see the most people have critical illnesses. We're dealing with 18 clients right now out of our office that are going through either some sort of heart issue, like a heart attack. We have a client putting a pacemaker, and I have like almost 10 clients going through cancer since January 1.
Oh, no.
And what I will tell you, and I preface this, it's the ones that are the good old boys that when I set them up with insurance, I go, John, I don't go to the doctor unless I'm dying. Right? And I'm like, but you're 55 years old. You've never even done, I mean, maybe you don't want to do a colorectal screening, but I mean, you don't even get a physical and know your blood pressure, or you don't know your blood work. I mean, what happens if your cholesterol is a little high and you can be on a pill to prevent that heart attack in the future? They just don't do it. And I don't know if people just don't understand, because a lot of these plans will give it to you literally for free. It costs you nothing to do it. But like, I'm trying to almost entice my clients, like, listen, I'm going to sell you a plan, and the way I build it, they're going to pay you to get a preventative care. If I give you money, will you do it? And, because it's important for me to keep you as a client, right? I want to keep you as a client.
I don't want you to die.
I don't.
They're going to write you a check for $300 if you just go to the damn doctor and get a physical.
Go get it. I mean, and think about it as a cost savings for your insurance. If I got a family of 5, I'm going to get $300 every time we go for our physicals each year. That's $1,500. I can take that off the cost of my health insurance for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense, but absolutely do it. It is so imperative. Get that done. And like I said, I'm giving you all the ways you can do it. I mean, urgent care, go to your primary care. There's even the grocery stores now have these little mini clinics, and some of them will do it. Like, just get it done. And because I'm tired of having these conversations with clients that don't do it, and now they're in a world of hurt. I have a client who had a stroke. He hadn't seen a doctor in 30 years. I was like, you were a stroke waiting to happen. And now it's destroyed his life.
Well, plan ahead. It's been the theme of this morning's Rethink Healthcare Together with John Ruhlman. And again, the importance of a few minutes of your time could result in these amazing, amazing savings, and maybe, at least in the case of preventative care, some profit. Think about it. John Ruhlman, what an amazing. It's always great talking with you. Medical insurance sounds so awful. He's like, oh my God, we're going to spend a half hour talking about medical insurance, but it's so uplifting to find out that people can afford it. They can be healthier and be happier people just by planning ahead a little bit. And part of that planning ahead involves getting in touch with John and his team, which is easy to do. CoverCincy.com, Y or I, any way you spell it, it's CoverCincy.com. There's a form right there. You can initiate the process. John will reach out to you after you get your information, ask the additional questions that he might need, or you can just call him up, 513-800-2255, 513-800-CALL. John, until next week, another edition of Rethink Healthcare Together. It's always fun. I really enjoy our conversations.
I appreciate it because it's a tough concept to deal with. A lot of people don't even want to talk about it. So I at least really enjoy that you do.
No, listen, it has over week after week after week. It has always surprised me that I walk away feeling, I don't know, a lot better about just the whole concept. And again, I thank you for helping all my listeners and your clients, and again, saving money just by being a little forward thinking. CoverCincy.com.